Another thing I've been hearing about is that uh, the world we live in is just the thoughts that we live in, and so the world we control the world by our thoughts. So the reality that we live within is only because of our mind, essentially.
Well, if you take a look at the very essence of
And
quantum
so you can blur the
mechanics,
lines.
listen to me,
Mm.
peep game.
Go
When
ahead.
they deal deeper into quantum mechanics and they start looking at um, like a unified field theory, which is basically a theory of everything. When they look at um, particles popping in and out of existence, they actually have a direct mathematical model that they of predictability. Like, I mean, it's a proven fact, because nothing that we have, none of the information age that we have now would be possible without quantum mechanics. So it's a proven theory. However, it's also, when you observe something, you never know where it's at until you observe it. So the observer actually affects the particles popping in and out of existence, and it's in multiple states at the same time. It can go through walls, it can go through, it could teleport, and when they start looking at it and they realize that consciousness might actually be affecting things on a microscopic and molecular level, like consciousness and thought put into it, something doesn't exist until you enter thought into it. And that's one theory that they have. That's not a proven theory, you can't prove it, but all evidence is leading towards believing that in quantum mechanics, and it's a fact. Like, it's not some fucking juju magic, it's a fact. They use it in the Large Hadron Collider. When they start looking at these things and they start seeing these things popping in and out of existence, it's in multiple states at the same time. It's what Einstein said, freaky action at a distance. And they have this quantum entanglement where two particles can be interacted with each other over distances, and only whenever you add an observer into it does it actually show its true form. It snaps into existence. It's in multiple states at the same time. It's in what's called like a field, where it's a field of unpredictability, where when they look at these particles, it has no existence until you enter thought into it. So therefore, on the very small scale, if you're entering thought into something and making it exist, so therefore your thoughts concentrated over time can create your existence. So concentrated thoughts actually have what's called a field, I mean, because you got to figure our brains are nothing more than the firing between synapses and the exchanges of chemicals and the connection of neurons. So therefore, our minds are nothing but on a molecular and an atomic scale. So we are the very essence. Consciousness is the very essence of what's on the quantum scale. So therefore, if we and this is a known fact, because you take a look at the law of attraction, and people have looked into this. This is not just something that people made up. It's not just like a made up religion where people created this. It's something that was observed over time. An affirmative thought, it has a higher frequency than a negative thought. And a thought that you affirm to yourself to be positive and truthful, and you get those goosebumps on the back of your neck, and you ever wonder how when you start off on a bad day and it spirals into being a worse day, a lot of it has to do with your frame of mind and your mind state, your emotions. Your emotions is what control your actions. So therefore, if you can control your emotions, you can control your destiny. The people that you come in contact with, the situations that you put yourself in, the conversations that you have that will affirm more positive thoughts. So therefore, somebody who's in a negative state constantly will always affirm negative thoughts and create negative situations for themselves. So therefore, if you take the two theories, the quantum theory, and you take the law of attraction, and you take this mind over matter shit, it really makes fucking sense. It really starts to make sense. The picture starts to paint itself that we actually control our future. And if you take a look at even the scientific community, it's a known fact that science fantasy created science fact. Jules Verne, if you take a look at all of the things that, like, before they had TVs, Jules Verne was like the science fiction writer of his time. Everything that Jules Verne created, when it was not even fathomable, when they couldn't even think that this shit would even exist, Jules Verne was writing about submarines before submarines existed. He was writing about rockets going to the moon before rockets existed. How is it that somebody that can create, and why is it that even in the computer community, computer power doubles every 18 months? It literally doubles every 18 months.
That's not true.
It is true.
Now you lying.
It is true. It is true, dude. Look it up. It's a fucking actual law. It's an actual scientific law.
No, it's not true.
Computer power doubles.
I follow tech stuff.
It's not, no, but you're not at, no, it's computing power and memory and storage, which means our shit's gonna get, no, nanotechnology is on the fucking cusp of breaking new grounds.
On the consumer end, it's starting to slow down.
You're looking at the consumer end. You're looking at the fucking capitalistic view. It stunts the tech community. The capitalistic view stunts the tech community. We're talking about, there's always been practical resources that were there before it was consumer resources. And you and even in NASA spinoffs, look at NASA spinoffs, so like Velcro and you know, that's just a simple example. There's thousands of NASA spinoffs that they were using in science before they were using in on the private sector. And it's going way off topic. That's not even what I'm trying to explain. What I'm trying to explain to you is that people's creativity, and you even take a look at Leonardo da Vinci. Leonardo da Vinci, one of the reasons why he was able to create the shit that he created is because he was a fucking misfit. He was somebody who was left alone with his imagination and his creativity. He was somebody who was socially mute. He basically he was gay, you know, in a time where they were fucking burning gays at the stake. You know what I'm saying? Like, so he was a social misfit, and he was basically a hermit. He lived where, you know, he was weird. He would fucking dissect cadavers and dissect faces and you know, he did weird shit. But look at what he created. By being as eccentric and weird, look at what he created. Look at how weird Einstein was and how eccentric Einstein was. And he was probably arguably the most genius person that ever lived, period. Like, he's probably... I mean, it goes way beyond just genius. We're talking about the creativity of the human mind. It digs way more deeper than what the human mind can possibly fathom. Your mind is the most precious. Come on, I mean, you have more connections in your brain between neurons than there are stars in our galaxy. There are billions upon billions. There's hundreds of billions of connections of neurons. You are nothing more than the exchanging of emotional and chemicals firing between synapses and neurons in your brain. You're nothing more than connections, than a computer connection. Your brain is a supercomputer. I mean, it controls everything, and people don't ever treat their brains right. And you said something earlier, and you don't even realize how significant it was when you said it. That when you're dealing with a kid, you're dealing with a developing brain. Like, you are literally forming a person. How they're going to be, whether they're going to be a good husband or not, whether they're going to be a good parent or not. What, you know, that's why cultures, you know, cross-secting cultures, and that's one of the reasons why the internet is so important, because we're cross-secting cultures. We've seen this with the Mongolians in China. The Mongolians, yeah, they raped and pillaged, and they basically conquered all of China. But one thing they did is they intersected and cultures, religions. They didn't push away cultures and religions, and they opened up the Silk Road and allowed the exchanging of information and allowing the exchanging of books and libraries and you know, you take a look at the great Library of Alexandria. They burnt the fucking thing to the ground. Look at how much thousands of years of culture we lost when they burnt that shit to the ground. That's something that the Mongolians didn't do in China. That's one of the reasons why they're so rich in their culture and history, is because they still have their culture and history. We're destroying culture and history day by day by day by not paying attention to it and not actually, you know, encouraging it. We're not doing that in the internet now. We're so focused on everyday aspects in our little bubbles of social media. We're so focused every single day on distractions and buying trends and what people are wearing and shit like that. We are wasting away what makes us human. Wasting it away. And people don't realize it every day. They don't understand what they're doing. When they turn on the TV and they're listening to a news broadcaster telling you what fucking J-Lo was wearing on a fucking, video music awards and shit, that's a waste of fucking intellectual capital, dude. That is such a waste of brain power. When we could be focusing on other issues and other things. And we are capable of so much as an individual, but groups of people are fucking stupid. George Carlin said it best. The individual human is smart. People are brilliant, but you get a bunch of them together, they're blithering fucking idiots. And it's just the way it works. It's the way the human mind works. And that's what happens when you have a brain that's forged in the plains of Africa. When you have when we're need to worry about what the fucking rustling weeds over there was, if it was a fucking lion that's going to eat us or not. We're still living in that primitive state. We just don't fucking realize it. We think that we are above nature, and we think that we are immune and inoculated from what makes us an animal in the animal kingdom. We are still animals in the animal kingdom, driven by sex, driven by food, driven by the same laws of nature that bind us to the rest of nature, and we're so ignorant to our nature. That's one of the reasons why sex sells. What do you think sex sells? Because that's part of our fucking biological need to reproduce. And you have people that literally sit down. You have these fucking these investment bankers that sit down and hire these fucking brilliant people to come in here and tell you how people think, groups of people think, so that they can they can predatorize that, and they can go after groups of people like that. And it's funny because I'm a nobody. I'm some fucking person in the middle of Pittsburgh that I'm a nobody, and I can fucking understand this. I'm not an intellectual.
Somebody to me.
I didn't spend thousands of dollars on my education. This is self-fucking taught information just by being observant. And this is something that people can't fucking do. It's amazing to me. It's completely amazing to me how people can be so ignorant in their everyday lives. They can go on autopilot and just coast. It's a waste. You're wasting years focusing on it when you could be bettering not only yourself and the people around you, but also the world in large. So it goes way deeper beyond mind entering into something or thought entering into something. This is just being smart enough.
I want you to enter into this lobby.
All right, send me an invite. Fuck you. My bad. Dude, I went on a rant there. I apologize.
No, that's cool, man. You good?
But like I said, I'm a nobody from Pittsburgh.
I didn't understand the quantum physics till now. I didn't get it. I learned about that shit like 5-6 years ago. I've been learning about it all the time. It just didn't click till like now, apparently. Now I understand what the fuck they be talking about.
Yeah, quantum theory is a fact.
I always liked Schrodinger's cat. I always thought that was always really cool. I was like that.
Yeah.
Like, since you don't technically know the information, I mean, you don't know. I'm like, that's very important to always keep that in mind. It's like you don't know until you observe it. So all the variables are possibly true.
Yeah. And all it is in quantum theory, all it is a mathematical equation that gives you probabilities, not an exact location of where these particles are in existence. In matter,
no, we just missed a good map. We out.
When you look at matter on the atomic level, the particles pop in out of existence. The electron itself is in what's called a probability field. It is not in one place at any one time, and it only pops into existence the moment you observe it. So therefore, you entering into the observing of the electron is what makes it snap into one place. It's in all states at the same time. Everything that can happen will happen. Have you ever heard that before? You ever heard that fucking phrase before? Yeah, well, you take a look at that. That's in quantum theory. It's in quantum theory, and take a look at there. I mean, there's even equations in nature. Take a look at Oh, what's the Fibonacci sequence? You take a look at the Fibonacci sequence, and that's how we view nature and how we view beauty. You take a look at nature. Nature follows that same pattern. You take a look at galaxies in the universe. They follow that same pattern. It's called the Fibonacci sequence. Look it up. It's like 1.618. It's some ratio, and that's how we see beauty. When we look at somebody who's a good-looking person, they have that ratio in their face. It's called the Fibonacci sequence. Very interesting. What's up, Scotty? It's called the golden ratio. Look it up. Just Google golden ratio. Or go on, what's that, like a wiki page, and read the golden ratio, and it'll explain it. Explain exactly what I'm talking about. Leonardo da Vinci used it in his paintings, and that ratio can be found in music. It's very interesting when you start to peel back the layers of what, and this is what I mean about human ignorance, is like, people don't even understand this shit. I mean, you don't have to, you could be ignorant to it. It's not like a fucking necessity. Fucking duplicates, man. Ah, fuck.
I feel you. That's what I was saying. In that, did you watch that Chilling Out with Bravo video?
No, I didn't. I was.
Yeah. Well, you should watch it.
It's popping up
it ain't
on my
that
feed.
good, actually. It ain't that
well, you
good,
needed me in that video. You needed me in that video. You needed to get me in that video.
Nah, you would just sit there and talk for 10 minutes straight. We couldn't say that. Nah, we did not need. You was not invited to the Chilling Out series. Hell nah.